So welcome everyone. I think we can maybe start. So before we enter into the synthesis of yoga again, as we were touching upon last time, release from heart and mind. And I think today we have to take up release from the body before we can take up release from the ego. So just maybe taking a moment to invoke Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So last time we had taken up chapter 8. Somehow I had missed chapter 7. We should have started maybe from here. So chapter 8 we touched upon release from heart and mind, and this is chapter 7, release from subjection to the body. And just to remind us, why are we doing this? Because in Savitri we were reading about Ashupati's experiences of getting released of spirit's liberation from all these subjections, and that's what prompted us to be here with synthesis of yoga. So anyone who would like to read a bit of it, maybe the first paragraph for us, then we can take reflections.
Okay, I can. Do you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The release from subjection to the body. Our first step in this path of knowledge, having once determined in our intellect that what seems is not the truth, that the self is not the body or life or mind, since these are only its forms, must be set right, must be to set right our mind in its practical relation with the life and the body, so that it may arrive at its own right relation with the self. This is the easiest to do by a device with which we are already familiar, since it played a great part in our view of the yoga of works. It is to create a separation between the Prakriti and the Purusha. The Purusha, the soul that knows and commands, has got himself involved in these workings of his executive conscious force, so that he mistakes these physical workings of it, which we call the body, for himself. So that he mistakes this physical working of it, which we call the body, for himself. He forgets his own nature as the soul that knows and commands. He believes his mind and soul to be subject to the law and working of the body. He forgets that he is so much else besides that is greater than the physical form. He forgets that the mind is really greater than matter and ought not to submit to its obscurations, reactions, habit of inertia, habit of incapacity. He forgets that he is more even than the mind, a power which can raise the mental being above itself, that he is the master, the transcendent, and it is not fit the master, and it is not fit the master should be enslaved to his own workings, the transcendent imprisoned in a form which exists only as a trifle in its own being. All this forgetfulness has to be cured by the Purusha remembering his own true nature, and first by his remembering that the body is only a working and only one working of Prakriti.
Thank you. Yeah, so reflections are welcome on this. So I think it's pretty, because we have done this distangling in the release from heart and mind also. So we can see what is happening or what he's trying to say here. At least a bit of that we can get, that the first step is to disentangle through the intellect, through the use of buddhi, which is the highest that we usually in our ordinary consciousness we can achieve. So using our intellect only, a part of mind, we can see that self is not the body, because there may be something lacking in the body, but I don't feel a lack. For example, we have many examples of when one limb is not working, it doesn't feel that I am not working, I am there fully, but one limb may not be working, one hand may be missing, arm may be missing, the leg may be missing, but I don't feel that I am half. So that's where we can see that the self is not the body or life or mind, since these are only it forms, must be to set right our mind in its practical relation with the life and the body, so that it may arrive at its own right relation with the self. So now we are just trying to set proper relations, that first of all it's all a chaotic entanglement, and now I'm trying to disentangle myself from first the mind. I am not the body. This we see very well with Vedantic tradition. We say neti neti, I am not the thought. Whatever is the content of my consciousness, I am not that. So I am not the thought, I am not the feeling. I can see the pain, touch the pain, feel the pain. I am not the pain. Hence we keep stepping back so that we can truly know who we truly are. So he's sharing that this is our first step. What seems not, that the self is not the body or life or mind, since these are only its forms. So they too are forms, but that's not the totality of the self. I am not just the body, just the, I am something beyond and more expansive than the body. So many a times we see that the body may be hurting, but you still go on, somehow there is a power in us, the spirit or whatever we can call, but we can challenge the body, because body may be really tired, but something in us really wants to give even more than the limits of the body, so we can keep expanding, so that the right relations of mind with the self and mind or intellect with the body and life can be set. So first, like we are sorting and organizing our parts of beings, which so far was a very entangled, and that was not serving us well. And this, it is easiest to do by a device which we are already familiar. So we can't talk of mumbo jumbo here. We have to talk, okay, what can I do? What can I, what is there in my reach? So that's what he's sharing, that we can easily do it by a device which is familiar to us, since it played a great part in our view of the yoga of works. It is to create a separation between the Prakriti and the Purusha. Anything that moves is Prakriti. Any movement is Prakriti. Because movement requires force, movement requires energy. And Shakti or Prakriti, they are force, are the other aspects of when we are trying to talk about Purusha and Prakriti. So anything in me that moves. So when I can see, thoughts coming and going, anger coming and going, jealousy, ambition, all these movements, pain, headache, bodily sensations coming and going, feelings. Yesterday I was sad, today I'm not sad, so coming and going. So anything that moves can be hinted towards Prakriti, and then that which is beyond any movement but allows all the movement is Purusha. So we are trying to sort our being, that oh, there is a witnessing Purusha, and then there is the movement of Prakriti. So we are trying to understand ourselves. And that's what he's sharing, that first of all, we have to do this step to create this separation. The Purusha, the soul that knows and commands, has got himself involved in the workings of this, his executive conscious force, so that he mistakes his physical working of it, which we call the body, for himself. So this in Savitri, it was clearly Sri Aurobindo, through many beautiful images he was sharing, that how the Purusha, it was a pact between Purusha and Prakriti, that hey, I'm going to be the backstage person, you be the front stage person, so I will not be seen. And we read one word which was supernumerary actor. So he accepted the role of being a supernumerary, which is like in Bollywood or Hollywood movies, we have actors, and hero and the heroine may be in front, and then there are backstage, in the back there are actors, but they are like, nobody pays attention to them usually. So the Purusha said, okay, I'm happy to be in the backstage, or in the background, totally ignored. So that we got to know through Savitri, that it was a pact signed, that he's, that the Purusha said, okay, when ignorance is there, Prakriti has the dominant hand. So he got lost, he got involved consciously, although it was a conscious decision, but in our unconsciousness we keep on going on like that. And that is what we have to reclaim, that oh, I, because of my sanction, I got lost in the Prakriti's movements, and it is my will only with which I can detach. So this is what one has to do when we are ready, when we are ready, when we have lived enough of a lifetime, being unconscious in our movement, suffered enough, and now maybe we want to understand who we are and how we work. So this one, the Purusha, the soul that knows and commands. So the command also went from the consciousness itself, the Purusha, but again, as per the pact, he got himself too involved. Like imagine an actor, and he loses himself in the role so badly that when he comes back home, he doesn't recollect that oh, he's not the role, he's actually the actor. He doesn't have that recollection. And that's what happens with us. We forget that we are more than the roles that we play, and our roles really suffocate us. They, after some time, they create more and more misery, that oh my god, what do I do, I'm a mother. you know Rather than when I reclaim my consciousness, the throne within, then I can actually even perform a better role, and get out of that role also whenever rest is required. So the Purusha, the soul that knows and commands, has got himself involved in the workings of his executive uh, or executive, whatever, conscious force, so that he mistakes this physical working of it, which we call the body, for himself. So all of us, this is valid for all of us, that we, for a long time, we think that this is me, the body, and if the body dies, I die. That's the fear of death. And mother says that when we are even a little bit conscious of our soul, then the first thing that happens is that we are not afraid of death. We are conscious of our immortality, because we know that we are not just this lifetime. We are much more, and we will be much more. So that's the realization that comes as a side effect of becoming conscious of our soul. So yeah, any reflection until here are welcome. Okay, so please keep sharing. If there is anything, we'll move ahead. He forgets his own nature. Now, all the time we are thinking, all the time we are feeling. And of course, if I ask today, how are you feeling? You will sense it, and you will say, okay, today maybe I'm feeling a little bit not that bright. Okay. So it is my consciousness which has made me capable, because I am conscious, that has made me capable that I can see what I am feeling. Then I ask, okay, what are you thinking? Again, I can see what am I thinking. Some seeing aspect is there already. Without that seeing aspect, I cannot see what I'm thinking. I cannot see what I'm feeling. But we forget the seeing aspect totally. We forget that there is a very strong seer within me which is making all the play happen. The only thing that I am conscious of is the content of thinking and feeling. Oh, the storyline, or what am I feeling? Sad, morose, not that bright, good, happy, jolly. So all that we remember is the content of consciousness, but we forget the consciousness itself. We take it for granted that, like we go for a movie. Who cares to look at the screen? Nobody. But all that we look at is the movie. But movie is happening on the screen. There is no existence of movie without the screen. So although the consciousness is the basis of all the play, like in the beginning we had, looked at this picture of Shiva and Kali, the dance of Kali happening on the breast of Shiva. And Alokda had once mentioned, and it resonated very strongly, that Shiva is that consciousness on which the dance, the movement in time can happen and is happening. But Shiva allows himself to be totally negated. And that is why we forget to be conscious that we are conscious. We forget to notice that I am aware. All our attention is, what am I aware of? I'm aware of this bottle, this laptop, the thoughts, what happened in the morning. But I forget that, oh, I'm aware. Just that. So he forgets his own nature as the soul that knows, the knowing aspect in us, and commands. So and that's why we meditate, for example, when we meditate for some time, maybe with the breath, bringing mind in the home, in the body, and then just being aware of being aware, just being as awareness, then we are coming back home. We are touching our soul consciousness, just being as the knower of nothing, just the knower, knowing myself as the knowing which knows everything. So that's the one of the ways in which we can, try to come back home, because we keep getting lost in the drama too much. So he forgets his own nature as the soul that knows. This is my true nature, as the soul that knows and commands. Who created this situation in my life? Of course, I. But in my ignorance, I say that, oh, it's an outward happening, somebody is doing it to me. But nobody has the power to do it to me. It is my command that I have lessons to learn, or progress to make. So somehow those situations are created that without my command they can't happen. So he forgets his own nature as the soul that knows and commands. He believes his mind and soul to be subject to the law and working of the body. So I feel that if the body ends, the mind ends, the soul ends. What will happen of me if I die? That's why we are scared. Otherwise, what is the reason to be scared if I know myself as the soul consciousness, which is immortal? So he believes his mind and soul to be subject, they are subordinate to the law and working of the body. And that is why we very happily run towards all kind of methods and treatments, because we don't find time to reclaim our own power. So all that I can do is maybe begin to pop some pills because I don't know what else to do. So subjected to the law and working of the body, he forgets that he is so much else beside that is greater than the physical form. We forget. He forgets that he is so much else besides that is greater than the physical form. And that is where we reclaim the power to heal our own self. That's where we see Mother and Sri Aurobindo, most of the ailments they were treating with the force only. We have many stories that were treated just by the action of force, because the reclamation is there. So he forgets that the mind is really greater than matter. And that's why nowadays, new age, we see that many of us are now actually working and trying to work on diseases, that if I have created it, then I must have the power to heal it also. Let me think, let me see how I created it so that I can heal. It's not uncommon now, it's very common. So he forgets that the mind is really greater than matter, and that is why the diseases will happen. Because if I'm stressed all the time, my stressful thoughts have so much power that they are having an impact on the body. They are able to create a physical manifestation. So much power my thoughts are having, the negative thoughts. So if I turn the thoughts to something higher, then they will also have an effect. But that requires a lot of dedication, commitment, purification, which not all of us may be ready for. But that's the only true healing that can happen. That the root which created the disease itself heals. So he forgets that the mind is really greater than matter and ought not to submit to its obscurations, reactions, habit of inertia, habit of incapacity. He forgets that he is more even than the mind. So now in Buddhism, we know that through meditative attempts, the masters try to realize the nature of the mind. Like we have ice. Now the nature of ice is water. And that's how mind, he's even greater than the mind. What is the nature of mind? The nature of mind is consciousness, is this awareness which is actually giving rise to this mind, which is a tool. But we give so much importance to the mind because it is a little tangible. But we forget the origin of the mind, which is the consciousness, which is the space which is actually allowing the mind to be. So that's what we have to reclaim. It's not a one-day process. We all know that. It is a sadhana in itself to reclaim the nature of mind. And we know that we all may have glimpses of it, but the moment you glimpse it, again the ego comes back and the glimpse is gone. So he forgets that the mind is really greater than matter and ought not to submit to its obscurations, reactions, habit of inertia, habit of incapacity, all the bodily limitations at the moment. He forgets that he is more even than the mind. He is the source itself. He is the ocean. Mind is a wave. Mind is a whirlpool in the ocean. But he is the ocean itself, but he forgets. So we all have forgotten who we are. And that's why the journey. A power which can raise the mental being above itself. So this is what Mother and Sri Aurobindo, prompt us, and other masters also, that reclaim the nature of mind. Know what is the nature of mind. You are that. But just in theory, if I keep saying I am that, maybe, at times it actually helps even to think about it. But one has to realize it. So practical realization of this aspect that I am greater than the mind, I am the source of mind itself, has to be there. That's our sadhana. A power, that consciousness, power in capital P, a power which can raise the mental being above itself. So when I reclaim my stability as the presence of consciousness, then I can raise my mind above, in the higher heights. That he is the master, the transcendent, and it is not fit the master should be enslaved to his own workings. The transcendent imprisoned in a form which exists only as a trifle in its own being. So what an irony. I mean, Jetsunma Tenzing Palma also many a time shares, that how sad that we don't know who we truly are. She talks about the Buddha nature, this enlightened nature. And we keep on living like prisoners of our own life and circumstances, but we, as if totally have forgotten who we truly are. As Rumi shares, he, like, somebody has created, like, a person is sitting and there's a key next to him and he's sitting in a cage, and the quote is something like that. It's, that it's a maybe irony to see that man is imprisoned and all the time the key, is lying next to him. And that's how we live, that, oh my God, the poor me, the little me, the incapable me, the incapacitated me. But we don't know who we truly are, like a beggar sitting, a king sitting on, like a beggar, on his own treasure, but not having the capacity to dig. And all the time crying that, oh, I am the beggar, but not attempting to dig the treasure he is sitting on. So that's our condition, that's the human condition. And that's why it's a little saddening, when we come to it. And many masters have said that, please, like, wake up urgently, do not continue to keep living like beggars while you are the king all the time. So just finishing this, and then we can take more reflections. All this forgetfulness has to be cured by the Purusha remembering his own true nature, and first by his remembering that the body is only a working and only one working of Prakriti. So an actor lost in a role that he is playing in theater has to come back home, and somebody has to remind, he has to trace his steps back, and he has to know that he is the actor beyond all the roles that he's playing. He is not suffocated by the script he's playing. So that is the first step, that has to be done. Rupert Spira shares in great deal in various ways about this reclaiming who we truly are. Yeah, so we can take reflections, if any.
So when you were talking about the man inside the cage and with the key right there, but still feels imprisoned, I got reminded of the elephant. When a baby elephant, when it is born, as it grows, it is tamed, and to tame it, it is chained to anything, a pillar or whatever. And initially, because it has much less strength, if it tries to pull the chain, it cannot. And it identifies with the chain, and it knows that when it is chained, it cannot roam freely. But as it grows and becomes a mighty powerful elephant, but yet when the chain is there, the very even if it is not tied, yet in his mind he thinks that the chain, because his identification with the chain, because his mind has been conditioned in such a way that for him that chain is that thing that he cannot, he loses his power, he forgets who he is, because an elephant has the power to even pull as it grows big, it can pull that pillar or whatever, and it can destroy so many things. But that very chain is a reminder for him that it doesn't have the power. And so for us also, right from our childhood, because our identification with our outer appearance, our body or mind and all that is so strong that we are also chained in our own thinking, in our own body, and so obsessed and so difficult for us that the real power is that soul, that consciousness, that awareness. That is who I am. But for me, I have forgotten that. It is my body, my name, my fame, my accomplishments, whatever, like my thoughts, my personality. And I am so chained. We also chained to that. And yes, and I guess through sadhana, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that example. That resonated. Yes. I think many a times we are also as if we are too afraid of our power, because if we reclaim our freedom, we also reclaim along with freedom, like the other end of it is responsibility. I'll have to be responsible for myself, but it's easier to blame situations and people, put the responsibility on others or the life, how it happened to me, or the circumstances, rather than to actually reclaim that no, all the time it is my responsibility, I am the one responsible. So along with freedom, if I reclaim, there also comes responsibility, which many a times, I think, again, stages of our life, at times we are maybe not ready to take up that responsibility.
And mentally, it is not possible to do it, Monica.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot drop it mentally.
True,
because how? You say that, okay, I'm chained, let's say, to my various relations, not just to my body or mind or anything, not just that, but there are many things that I am chained to, outside of me. And if mentally one day I decide that, okay, I've read this and now I have to break free, mentally I will not be able to do it, because wherever I go, I carry my mind. And if that mind is not refined, it has not, if it only when we have prepared ourselves through sadhana, through spiritual practices, it just drops. It just happens gradually, and one fine day there's not, we don't have to make an effort. Till the time we are making an effort, it means we have to work hard on ourselves. We still have to, because mentally, whatever you do, you will not be able to. It is like a external renunciation, but not internal. The internal relation remains intact. Externally, even if I've renounced food, let's say that today I'm not going to, let's say 10 days I'm not going to eat food. But internally, if I'm all the time dwelling in the thought of food, my internal relation is remaining, then I think that is too much, being too harsh on oneself.
True. Yeah, true. I
But
think
yes,
that's why pain and suffering has to be there right now, in when we are in such kind of ignorance. That is why the school of pain is required, because without suffering, without pain, I am not able to truly let go of the unskillful patterns that I don't even know that I am actually living unskillful patterns. So I totally resonate when you are sharing that mentally we can't drop it, and it has only to be dropped, or it gets dropped when we have suffered enough. We have been through life, and that's why the Prakriti has the dominant hand. That because the thing is not ready, as they say, that Purusha evolves through Prakriti's experiences. So all these life experiences, they are the one who are, they are ripening us, so that we come one day to a point, okay, now, maybe time to move ahead, and again, there are gradations. Yeah, please go ahead.
So when you say suffering, do you say that going through, what is it do you mean when you say suffering? Because is it always suffering which takes us on a spiritual journey, or it could be just happiness also. Can one not be happy, content in life, and yet have a spiritual path? Yes, one can have sufferings, and always when we have a challenging situation in life, automatically the one thing that it takes us closer to the divine. I do agree.
Yeah.
But can it not be possible that there isn't a pain, yet there is a happiness, and yet in happiness you are close, you can be walking a spiritual journey? So I think
I mean, why not? Because but I think still relative degree of some pain, some challenge will still be there, because again, it's a process of evolution that we are in. We are not yet the superhumans. The body is not ready, the vital is becoming ready. So see, why do we come, why does pain come in the picture? For example, if a hammer is chiseling a frame, like a rock is being chiseled by the hammer, it has extra pieces which are not necessary, right? So the hammer hits on the rock piece and the extra pieces come out and they cause a little bit of pain. So to reach perfection, now right now in our evolution, no matter wherever we are not perfect. We still have to travel many eons still of journey to be truly in the image of divine, right? There are imperfections. Now when the divine hand is chiseling, so because of this chiseling, pieces come out. And when those pieces come out, it hurts. Why does it hurt? Because so far I lived as that rock. I have no idea that there is this image that the divine can see in me, but I can't see the image. I lived as a rock, that full piece of rock with all its extraneous parts. But the divine can see some image in me. So divine is sculpting, chiseling. And when the extra pieces are taken out, they hurt because I have identified with those pieces as my own. Oh my God, my part of being is taken out. So when I am giving up my desires, why would I give up my desires? Because I see that how much trouble they cause me and the others. If they are not causing me trouble, I will, as you said, that mentally I can't drop it. So if we are in such a stage of life that I say, no, I'm happy with my desires, they're not causing me any pain. Of course, one would not be able to leave it. One would not be able to see that, oh, why the need to drop it? But then the divine can see something in us which we can't see. So he sees that dropping the desire, the form that it gives us, is a magnificent form that with desire, sorry, not possible right now. Desire was the helper. Right now, desire is becoming a bar. So, slowly situations are created in which my desire begins to give me suffering so that the dropping happens. And that image that the divine can see can come out. And each one of us has an image, which has to be carved out. So when the carving will happen towards perfection, pain will happen. And as Sri Aurobindo says, why will pain happen? Because I identify with those parts which are unnecessary. I have identified long with those parts. So when they are now leaving me, it's hurting. Just that. So it's very auspicious kind of pain also. Like we are stuck in abusive relationships, and when that abusive person leaves the home, or I leave the home, or some separation happens, it of course causes, no matter how relieved you feel as if a part of your being has been taken away, because we were so habituated to live with that person. Familiarity again, that as if we were one. Now I'm leaving the person. On one hand, I feel delighted and happy, but a part of me also cries that, oh my God, why do I have to leave? So somewhere that again, just a little window into it, but I'm sure there is much more to this aspect of pain. And whether it can
I-
happen without
I-
pain. Yeah.
I do agree. I do connect with what you say, but I also feel that, like, is it important that you have a pain to walk a spiritual journey? Can you not be happy? I mean, I'm not saying life is going to be full of challenges. Even when one is happy, one is trying to, it's not that happy doesn't mean content. Happy and yet not content, because all the time, the goal is infinity. And when the goal is infinity, how can one be content without having reached infinity? But yet, can one not walk a spiritual journey even when one is happy in life?
No,
There would be pain, there would
doing
be
that.
suffering, there would be moments of pain and
Of
suffering,
course,
yes,
of course, of
just as
course.
there would be happiness.
Yes.
But I somehow feel that ऐसा लगता है कि स्पिरिचुअल जर्नी में वही जाते हैं जिनकी जिंदगी में चैलेंजिंग सिचुएशंस आ गई, या फिर लगता है कि कोई डिजीज आ गई. I mean, of course, those could be the reasons, but sometimes none of them being there could also be the reason of one walking, because that is the basic need of every human. Whether you have a disease, whether or not, whether you have a challenging relationship or not, whether you have a challenging life, or, I mean, life is going to be challenging, but let's assume that, you feel that you are more or less, you have a fine life, yet the basic essence within us to reach our own divinity, that is the very purpose of why we are here, to complete our journey from human to divine, isn't it? So I think, but yes, but we forget, as you said, that we are deluded human beings, because we have identified, the Purusha has identified with the Prakriti, with the, and thinking, it's such a beautiful line that Sri Aurobindo has written, that it is not fit, the master should be enslaved to his own workings, the transcendent imprisoned in a form which exists only as a trifle in its own way. So it's such a beautiful thing that, slave के अंदर से में तुम काम कर रहे हो जबकि तुम मास्टर हो. तो यही चीज हम भूल जाते हैं, and इसी चीज को to remind us, probably the God is constantly throwing situations in our life, which could be in the form of different challenges. But yet, to start a spiritual journey, I feel one can be very happy, at a very happy place, not content, and yet, maybe anxious, maybe restless, maybe, wanting to aggrandize oneself. That is the very basic essence in all of us. So somewhere people feel that a spiritual journey is the end of the life, either when everything has ended, and then you have no other responsibilities to take care of, and that is when you should start taking, God's name. If we haven't lived our life with that very understanding of who we are, then we haven't lived. So I guess it's good that we are talking about these things. Yeah. So totally agree with you, but just a perspective. Yeah.
Thank you. So I thought we'll maybe touch upon, since we were talking about this, that Purusha has involved itself and forgotten itself in the play of Prakriti. And now the task is to get the separation, to understand that there is a separation, and yet they are the two who are one. So these lines that we read earlier were very beautiful, page 62, 61, the two who are one. So just wanted to maybe bring about a few lines. Thus have they made their play with us for roles, author and actor, with himself as seen. In Kabir's terminology, there is this couplet called Khud Kuza Gar, Khud Gile Kuza, So he says that you are the clay, you are the one which makes the clay, which molds the clay, and you are the vessel also which is made. So everything, as we say, is the divine. So he moves there as the soul, sorry, author and actor with himself as seen. So everything is his play, divine play. He moves there as the soul, as nature, she. So, Purusha, Prakriti, what we were reading right now. Here on the earth, where we must fill our parts, we know not how shall run the drama's course. Of course, nobody of us knows how the life is going to unfold for each one of us. Our uttered sentences wail in their thought. Her mighty plan she holds back from our sight. So it's on purpose. She has concealed her glory and her bliss, and disguised the love and wisdom in her heart. Of all the marvel and beauty that are hers, only a darkened little we can feel. He too, Purusha, he too wears a diminished Godhead hair. He has forsaken his omnipotence. So one who is all powerful has now become a backstage actor, very happy to be ignored. He has forsaken his omnipotence. Imagine that the all powerful sitting in each one of us, and how powerless we feel at times. That's the game, that's the drama. So he has forsaken his omnipotence. His calm he has forgone an infinity. So we have forgone the calm that is belonging to us, the infinity that belongs to us, our birthright, our true nature. He knows her only. He has forgotten himself. To her, he abandons all to make her great. And that's why we say that in front of happenings of life, we feel so powerless, like happenings are everything, because this is a pact that has been signed. To her, he abandons all to make her great. He hopes in her to find himself anew. So again, this is also a pact. So Purusha will be evolving through the manifestations of Prakriti, all our life experiences. He hopes in her to find himself anew, incarnate, wedding his infinity's peace to her creative passion's ecstasy. Although possessor of earth and heavens, he leaves to her the cosmic management and watches all the witness of her scene. And the line that again I was recollecting, a supernumerary on her stage, totally happy to be ignored, a side actor, a supernumerary on her stage. He speaks no words or hides behind the wings. He takes birth in her world, waits on her will, divines her enigmatic gestures, sense the fluctuating chance turns of her mood, working out her meanings. She seems not to know. So again, we think that movements of Prakriti are just like a happening, and the movements are not conscious what they are doing, but she seems not to know. But it is actually a conscious force. It very well knows what it is doing. All the life instances that we create, circumstances, people that we choose in our life, we think that we don't know how this person happened to me, but we know. We really, really know. But we have lost touch with that knowing. So, works out her meanings, she seems not to know, and serves her secret purpose in long time. And again, it goes on. It was quite a long one that we had touched upon, the two who are one. Yeah, so for those of us who are interested, I think it would be nice to just at home in our silences, we can go through these pages 61, 62, 63, and further. The two who are one are the secret of all power. The two who are one are the might and right in things. His soul silent supports the world and her. His acts are her commandments' registers. Happy inert he lies beneath her feet. His breast he offers for her cosmic dance, of which our lives are the quivering theater. So yeah, again, I can get lost actually here. So yeah. Yeah, anything anyone wants to add on? Okay, so I think these words should not just go in vain. That's the aspiration that this little paragraph that we have read, it gave a very strong indication towards this disentanglement to be done. And of course, we are all at it. But no matter how much we are at it, always we can do, more. This stepping back into our true consciousness and disengaging from the movements in which we get lost. So just a reminder to all of us and other people who may be listening later, just a reminder that let us not forget, let us keep reminding that not to get too disentangled in what we have actually experienced. By the time all of us sitting here on Zoom, I think we have enough experiences of entanglement in thoughts, feelings, and body consciousness. But if we are ready now, then we can embark upon this disentangling, which actually is the source of felicity and peace when we are able to disentangle. Then no drama would be big than, what we are. Everything is okay. So what? So what? Everything we can shrug it off our shoulders, not to carry any burden. Yeah. So I'm not sure whether we want to maybe take a bit more. So you would tell and I would follow.
I think we should soak all this first.
Okay. What about you, Sardaji?
Yeah, Monica will do it next week so that we can
That's
just
good.
tag whatever is done today.
Yes. Great. Okay, so any last comments before we dedicate?
Very beautiful what you read from Savitri.
Mm, yeah.
It seemed like a beautiful love story between Prakriti and Purusha, and how giving the Purusha is. Only somebody powerful can do that. To give, to just allow for the other to dance, to perform, to flourish, to blossom, and to turn back and be one with Purusha. Yeah, it was very beautiful, very beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Dr. Anjali, you have something to add on? Sorry, you're not audible.
I'm saying that I'm just trying to absorb everything. I'm listening. I was away for 2 weeks. I could not join.
Okay.
So it's a bliss for me.
Okay. For us too.
Yeah, coming back to all these sessions again.
Yeah.
Although I was in very good place also. I had gone to Vrindavan and Mathura, and I just wanted to absorb that thing, to see that place, and from social drama, apart from social drama, I could experience that. I remembered Radha's prayer, and I remembered always Mother was there, as Radha was not nobody else, but Mother was there. So that was very good experience for me.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, anybody else?
Yeah, one small thing. You know how mother says, I don't know the exact words, that there's nothing wrong in the world, right? That things are just not in their right places. So I always took that to be externally, like kind of distribution of wealth and stuff. And for the first time while you were reading this, I realize it's for the inner being too, right? Of course it is. And yet there's nothing wrong, right? Like there's no need for suffering or for the dramas that we create, but because we have put things not where they belong, and there is what is there is not, and what shouldn't be is the master. That is again the reason for the internal suffering as well. And once they are put right, we will, will be more peaceful, and there will be more, the journey would be lighter and towards light more and more, because now the equipment, the instrument is properly positioned. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So thank you then everyone, and maybe just taking last a moment to dedicate all the merit we may have accumulated through the discussion, reflection, reading, listening, sharing it with all the sentient beings. May we have peace in our hearts and simplicity in our minds. And may we have lots of joy and progress on the path. And may we need not suffer, as we were sharing. May we learn our lessons without the requirement of suffering.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, everyone, and Merry Christmas.
You
Thank you.
too. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.